this election. I don't know already, I won't fail. Plus I ain't looking for fortune again. All I'm asking is that you pay close attention to the many problems we all face from dawn to dawn. You're intelligent, I think, and you should face issues. But you're behaving like a moron, cussing me for where I'm born, but you can't pay hand no water. You pay too much for butter. Take your steel beam and go. The terrible school system is such a bloody problem. Take your steel beam and go. Agriculture's in a state, planning is inadequate. Take your steel beam and go. The northern and southern idol, the two kingpins are bubble. We know, we like it so. Is an abomination. Take the steel beam and go. When food goes and rent is proof, cost of living gone through the roof. Take the steel beam and go. Classified information for personal gain is common, we know, but we like it so. Suicide, we have no house, so we squat, living with cockroach and rat. Take this thing, beam and go. The cesspit flowing over, you could catch yellow fever. Take this thing, beam and go. So they are in bulldozer, bring down the shocking mover. Take your steel beam and go. It's plenty sexual favor to be a 10 days worker, we know, but we like it so.
Alright. I know it's because it's Sunday night, the number's small, 634. If we can't get higher numbers than that, we'll just listen to music and we'll ride out. Because we have some important information to share. I want you to watch this. This is critical information as to where we were the 25th of January. Seeing it? And when it spiked in March. I want to show you this. I'll do it like this manually. But when Satish and them get around to fixing it up, it's going to be fancier. So, 703, there's a climb. Keep it climbing.
say, would make me abandon me body, say, no steel beam go fall on top me head. Sparrow as happy and empty not dead. Buddy, you may be shocked when I tell you this. Cousin Phillips is a Yankee CIA. And the whole of ONR is only communists. They take carnival away and make people work each day. It's yes, you in a union and can't get recognition. She said, take your steel beam and go. The unemployment levy murdering everybody. Take your steel beam and go. Children come out of college below elementary knowledge. Take your steel beam and go. We grieving with frustration through maladministration. We know, but we like it so.
Check your WhatsApp, check your WhatsApp.
You showing here for we. Good will cause you your popularity. Francisco, how come you ain't understand? We ain't want no blasted opposition. Yes, just like Georgie Porgy, I done sharpen my guilt pin, waiting for the opposition till. And anytime we catch them, only backpedaling. I ain't even want no bail. I ain't afraid to make a jail. Food you could produce here is imported from elsewhere. Take your stick.
When you're sick, it will make you sick to your stomach. That line, hear that line? Come, Sparrow, give me.
And anytime we catch them, only backpedaling. I ain't even want no bail. I ain't afraid to make a jail. Food you could produce here is imported from elsewhere. Take your steel beam and go. To fish in your own water is jail in Venezuela. Take your steel beam and go. No one to devise for we are good foreign policy. Take your steel beam and go. Bribery and corruption control every decision we know. But
It is disgusting that song is 1980. It is disgusting that all you leave it so. It is disgusting. Every single one of all you that looking for hamper. It is disgusting that all you leave it so. I can't believe the country is the same thing. I just passed Gene Pear Complex where I did the video asking why them 610th from America Mobile Hospital is going to be the hospital in the Gene Pear Complex when they could use the covered facilities. I just passed there and there are about 30 more tent. And I understand what it's for. The 610th come from America free. The 30 more tent we renting. Ask them who we renting it from now. Ask them how much we paying for them tent. And them tent go sit down there for 3 months, 6 months, and we will pay for them by the day $10, $15, $20,000. Do the arithmetic. Do the math. What's Sparrow just say?
friend make a jail. Food you could produce here is imported from elsewhere.
Food you could grow here, imported from elsewhere. 1980. So when they tell you about the $5 billion food import bill, it was deliberate.
Take your steel beam and go to fish in your own water.
It's jail in Venezuela.
Take your steel beam and go. No one to devise for we are good foreign policy. Take your steel beam and go. Bribery and corruption control every decision.
Bribery and corruption control every decision. We know. We like it so. Thief our money, make our money, eat our food, PNM, UNC, PNM, UNC, PNM. Thief, thief, thief. When the NAR was in office, they had no money to thief. The jackasses in the NAR worked their tail off to put money back in the treasury so the PNM could come and thief it. Bribery and corruption control every decision. That's 1980. And they're sick of all yourself. They're sick at pointing finger. Marcia Brave Boy for the UNC and Rhoda Barrett for the PNM. And they're sick. To your stomach sick. How rich you could have been tonight. You're sick. Every Trinbagonian could have been a millionaire. On Friday the 5th of March, we were on Knox Street. On Friday the 12th of March, we were in Baraka grounds. I want to show you something. I want to show you this so you understand what we're dealing with. Right? See, let me just pull it from here and save it so I'll have it as my first picture. Give me a second or two. Right? I want to save it now. That's my first picture. Okay. COVID stats in Trinidad. On the 31st of March, 22 new cases. 31st of March. But I want to tell you something. Before Knox Street, there was Friday the 4th of February. That's when the candlelight vigil started. Andrea Barrett funeral. Satish, WhatsApp me the date of Andrea Barrett's funeral. I believed it was the 11th of February because we had 9 days. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. I think it was 11th. Satish, could you just check it for me? Please, I want the date. WhatsApp that to me. The date of Andrea Barrett's funeral. And I'm making all of this to destroy. You hear the tone? I'm trying to maintain this tone. I am sick of the PNM. Sick. I'm sick of people like Ish Galbaransing, Steve Ferguson, Brian Quaitong, Russell Huggins, and all of the rest, Maritime Insurance, Northern Construction. I'm sick of everything that was involved in the Piarco Airport scandal. And I'll tell you why. Because Andrea's funeral was the 12th of February. I was wrong. 12th of February. On the 4th of February, we had about 10 people. I went alone. People came. They saw that I was alive and they came. And every night, it got bigger. The Thursday night, which was the 11th, we had a massive crowd. Massive. The road between Woodford Square was full of people. And the road between Woodford Square and the Red House was packed. They had trucks, cars, motorbikes, all kind of groups of people coming together, caravans of people. Both sides of the road was lined with people. It was packed. 12th of February. The first time from February 2021 that we got a case of COVID-19, 31st of March. And that's an important date. Because between the 31st of March, the next day, April Fool's Day, Trinidadians went across. The 31st of March, we had 7 cases. And on the 14th of April, we had 85 cases. Between Friday, 4th of February to 12th of February, and 14 days after, from the 12th of February, so 12 and 12 would have been the 24th of February, 26th of February, 26th of February. So 14 days from our last day would have been the 26th of February. I want you to watch. This is the Ministry of Health graph. Watch the date on the bottom. And I want you to watch how flat the line is. You see it? So the candlelight movement and the candlelight vigils up to the 12th of February had no impact on COVID. There were no cases. 14 days from the 12th of February, which would have been the 26th of February, the line flat. Now, PNM dotishness will tell you. People get COVID and hide. I take all that shit. I'm accustomed to PNM noise. I want to pin down this weekend, this between January and May. It's instructive. On the 31st of March, 2021. You know what happened that day? 31st of March, 7 cases. That's also the day vaccines arrived. Remember that? The 31st of March. Now, our last gathering was the 12th of March. We had Knox Street on the 5th of March, and we had Baraka Grounds on the 12th of March. And 12, from 14 days from the 12th of March, would have been 26th of March. 26th of March, no cases. 26th of March, no rolling cases, no spikes. 26th of March, the first spike we get, five days later, when the vaccines arrive, 7 cases, 22 cases. And then Keith Rowley. Satish, I asked you for a video. Did you get the video? I play the audio from here. Classified information for personal gain is common, we know. We like it so. No problem at all, right? Tobago, on the 4th of April, was the biggest Tobago Easter weekend in our history. Rohan Sinanan, Minister of Transport, who we have to trust, told us that he took 50,000 people to Tobago Satish, if you can get that video for me. Kendall Baggy, if you're watching me, I want that video of Rohan Sinanan on the news. This is CNC3. This is Sabga News Network. I want you to see the headline. 50,000 traveled between Trinidad and Tobago for Easter. Minister. This, I'll share this into the thread now. So some of y'all I shut your mouth now, if I up you. Some of y'all who want to share this, I just want to give it to you so you can read it yourself. Come out of that. I need these numbers above 1,000. Get people watching this video. Because tonight, Charlene Rampasad wrote, in the week leading up to the Easter long holiday weekend, over 50,000 people traveled between Trinidad and Tobago, both on the air and sea bridge. This, according to Works and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan, who said the figure represented a 7-day count of travel between the islands. Now I'll tell you what's the instructive date. The instructive date is the 4th of April. That's Easter Sunday. That's what everybody went for. That was the fact. Easter Sunday, 4th of April. Rohan Sinanan said that he took 50,000 people across 7 days from the 4th of April, which would have taken us to the 29th of March. Remember, start the showcases on the 31st of March. The 4th of April, from the 12th of March, which was our last event. So 12 and 10 is 22. What was the this year's 31st day, 31 days in March? So we had our last event on the 12th of March. 12 and 12 is 24, and 6 is 30, so that's 18, 19. 19 days between our last event and the 31st of March. And 19 days plus 4 days for April is 23 days. Now, COVID is 14 days. Don't forget that, 14 days. If you were spiking, you'd have spiked then. I want to tell you what Charlene Rampasad said. He congratulated Caribbean Airlines, the Port Authority, and the National Infrastructure Development Company Limited for facilitating the transportation of so many people without any challenges. What was astonishing is that we have not heard anyone complain about the efficiencies in the sea bridge and the air bridge. I want to congratulate the people at CAL, the people at the port, and the people at NIDCO for doing a fantastic job, because we had in excess of 50,000 people moving back and forth, and everything ran smoothly, even though we are in a pandemic. Sinanan said Holy Thursday and Good Friday were the 2 days recorded with the highest numbers of passengers, both by plane and boat. However, he said an increase in travelers was seen from the weekend before. We used it from the weekend to the weekend, so it represents a 7-day count, but it is a significant increase, and we were able to do it quite comfortably. Sinanan said the ferries that operate between the islands are doing so at 75% capacity, in keeping with COVID-19 regulations. Now, you move 50 50,000 people in 7 days to Tobago. And then you bring them back. So that's 100,000 bodies. Understand that? 50,000 going one way, 50,000 coming back the other. And if anything was a super spreader, it was that Tobago event. As much as Keith Rowley would like to do gymnastics for you and duck his responsibility in his contracting COVID, Keith Rowley inserted himself in a 50,000 plus people soup in Tobago. These 50,000 people didn't interact like we had. Boy, let me tell you, if we had 500 people in Baraka grounds, they were there for 2 hours. And we have film footage. And in that film footage of the audience of Baraka grounds, so that video is available, Satish has all of the footage. And what Satish don't have, Deep Focus have. And what Deep Focus don't have, Inshan Ishmael and his team have. And the crowd was spacious. You could have walked between them. People were observing the 6-foot social distancing. People were masked. We had with 500 people for 2 hours. Meeting done. Everybody going home. There's a difference between 500 people that came to a massive venue like Baraka Grounds, because Baraka Grounds could have hold 50,000 that went to Tobago. So when we had 500 people, they was in a little corner, the top left-hand side. People drove in, parked, got out the car, and they spread in Baraka Grounds. They didn't choke and jam because of COVID. Because we were continuously reminding them that. And that's 2 hours. This 50,000 in Tobago was 14 days. 14 days. Now when you go to Tobago, because Tobago is the South Beach, and you reach the weekend before, parties start weekend before. Everybody room, people come in, people lime in, venues, events. Angostura had a whole big boat with DJ and hype women on the beach in pom-pom shorts, hyping the crowd. It was a fete, it was a celebration, it was a carnival. It was 50,000 people. 50,000 people is 5 times Tri-Ban. 50,000 people is all the big bands in our carnival together on Pigeon Point. 50,000 people is the maximum capacity of Hazley Crawford National Stadium. So when it jam packed, when you can't see room, when every seat full, top to bottom, that's 50,000 people. So you imagine taking that and moving that in them little ferry and them little Shake and Bake Caribbean airline plane. So them was walking back and forth to move them 50,000 people. And those 50,000 people was in the airport and they was in the ferry terminal. Hold Johnny hand, where the basket, where the sleeping bags. Hey, we on standby, we next, come, push through this crowd here, let we go. That's what you was dealing with. When you land in Tobago, more crowd. Where we moving? How we moving? Where the taxi? Hey, see if he going Pigeon Point way. We going Store Bay, see where he going. That's what went on for 14 days. Understand? But for 4 of those days, it was fete after fete after fete, culminating in a massive fete in Pigeon Point. And you cannot tell me you have to be a liar at the level of Satan, Lucifer, to pretend that all those 50,000 people, not one of them was exposed to COVID-19. 31st of March, 22 cases. 22 cases on the 31st of March. According to Heinz graph, the 31st of March, 19 days from our last 500 people in Baraka grounds, 22 cases. The rolling average in Trinidad. A flat curve. Those 22 cases, not one was in hospital. Not one was in a step-down facility. Everything was empty. They had nothing going on. We had 22 cases. And I want to read something from ACP News for you to explain to you all these numbers they gave you. 708 positives. Run for the freaking hills. Light your ass on fire and see if you can fly to the moon. Oh, that's what the media is trying to tell you. We'll debunk that. But hear this. Exactly 14 days from Easter Sunday. Exactly to the day, 14 days, 85 cases. Exactly when them 50,000 come back properly infected, because you create a super spread environment. That Brazil variant bullshit was to distract you from Rowley's clusterfuck in Tobago. Rowley's clusterfuck in Tobago brought back to Trinidad 50,000 people who rub up on one another in the ferry terminal, in the airport, in people's bedroom, down by the restaurant, buying curry crab and dumpling by Miss Jean. Them 50,000 people party, rampack like sardine, everybody jamming. Why? That's what you get. Angostura had it nice. I hear pretty girls in tiny little short pants hyping the crowd, boat driving up and down, DJ in the bow, bye. Big thing, aguan. 50,000 went and spread a little COVID a little bit. But when they get there, COVID had a time because COVID had a party. COVID had 50,000. You see, Keith Rowley told the nation in his last press conference, we are trying to interrupt the gathering of people, because it is when we interrupt the gathering of people, COVID cannot jump from one to the next. But in Tobago, COVID lived his best life. COVID had 50,000 Trini to choose from. How you feel? Where wanted a red man, an Indian girl, a Chinese, where look at Syrian are going for down. Where wanted? Where wanted? 50,000 people for 14 days. Jam up on one another, going to Tobago, partying in Tobago, and coming back from Tobago. And in 14 days from Easter Sunday, Boyaka, 85 cases. Spike. 14 days from Easter Sunday, Boyaka, 85 cases. And everything that happened since was case after case after case. Because them 50,000 who come back, that stew together, they marinate like a good pomsite chow. Now everybody is everything. And everybody come back with a little bit of each other's sweat, if not other bodily juices. We went for a time. It was plenty sex and plenty fat and plenty wine down low. Well, you see how PNM just do it. In election time, they had a man wine his neck to the ground. That man should get a national award for that. I see two people on the side of a truck, one upside down, whining the genitalia on each other. When PNM people come out to party, they don't mix matters, they come out to party. So that 50,000 strong soup of COVID, now properly infected, because as Rowley say, what we're trying to do is interrupt. COVID dies if it can't move from one person to another. Well, COVID thrived in Tobago. COVID had 50,000 bodies, half naked, sweating, gyrating, zessing, give it the thing, na man. Those 50,000 people came back to Trinidad and went Arima, Sangre Grande, Cuba. Some people stay in Tobago and it spread in Tobago because the same role that say, Tobago has no case at all, you know. THA do that. Tobago is safe. Come to Tobago, it's a place to be. And that's why Tobago overflowing. And now Tobago have 100 cases. Where it come from, kid? Where? You said that Dr. Thompson, they say not the 50,000. Normal passage, move and forth, back and forth. So Dr. Thompson thinks we are all jackasses. Dr. Anthony Thompson, that is his name, I can't remember, and I don't care to research it, from the THA COVID response team, thinks that we are all donkeys and mules. That you could say, moving 50,000 people in 7 days to Tobago, party them for 4 days, and send them back over the next 7 days was not dangerous. But the normal movement of people going to market, going to get their ID card renewed, coming to Trinidad to meet their auntie and their tanty and their granny, that caused the spike in Tobago. Yes, I believe that. I is mad jackass big child, ain't? But this is what the PNM does. And this is why the UNC can't stand up. Because they don't have a single member of the UNC could do what I do, maybe, with the exception of Anil Roberts. Truth be told, after that spike, 85, we start to jam. So I want to go to Prior Bihari of AZP News. I want to tell you something. If you don't know this as yet, now they have real good journalists in this country, good and decent journalists, and afraid to call their name. Because if I call their name, they'll get victimized. Let me do some real arithmetic. This is not PNM arithmetic. We are about to hear. So when I'm done, you will ask the same question. What's the state of emergency for if these are the numbers? What's the state of emergency for? You know this port churn that you make into your COVID health team. Richards, Trotman, Hines, Parashram. You push these 4 people into a role. Now, I know they had to be PNM loyalists to get the role. But I think that they're also decent people because you could see they're being challenged to toe party line and keep to their professional ethics and integrity. And I am watching the contradiction take place. So when they ask these people questions, they ask Hines, has the SOE impacted on the cases? And he said, poor child, he said, he had to wait 2 weeks. So we had to put up with a state of emergency that we do not need for 2 weeks. When the cases from Tobago had already started to reverse, he admitted that. In this press conference, the trend The difference between this press conference and last week, which didn't need 2 weeks, because it showed you the normal transgression, the normal transfer of numbers, transition of numbers. You see that the cases have started to drop. The massive lockdown of all the restaurants and everything did the job. The state of emergency is doing fat all but limiting citizens' human rights and civil liberties and concentrating power in the hands of some tin pot dictators that shouldn't have this power. So tomorrow there's going to be a circus in the parliament because the UNC opposition is going to have to stand up and deny them the extension for the full 3 months, knowing that that's theater, because the law is already on the PNM side, that already a simple majority for the first 3 months, so they don't have to do that theater tomorrow. That theater is just to fool people in the country, to make it look like the parliament working. It's not. This is the law. Simple majority for 3 months, so run you run. And you need a special majority after 3 months, and the UNC will then mash you too. So you're going to say tomorrow, UNC trying to give people COVID. That is why they tried to block we, but the PNM was triumphant. And in 3 months' time, when the UNC now, when the pendulum swings the other way, and you require a special majority for the weeks coming up, you will hear these jackasses trying to push for the UNC if it is continuing, but it won't be because the cases are coming down. You can't fake cases. No matter how bad you're handling it, how bad are they handling it? They are testing people positive and sending them home. Rowley actually said, put on a mask when you're lying down in bed with your wife if your wife have COVID. Kid Rowley send your wife or your husband to lie down in the same bed with you, wear a mask, and you ain't gonna get COVID. And that is the jackassery that those press conferences are. But I want to give you the numbers and you tell me the destruction of this economy if it was worth it. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have tested 165,776 people. Of those, for the entire year and a half that we have had COVID, only 20,000 people have tested positive. Of the 1.4 million of us, 20,000 positive cases. So you shut this country down and destroyed its economy for 20,000 cases. But Phil, 20 is a big number and it has spread. So it would have spread. Yes, but not every corona case is a bad case, because only 375 people dead. That is so callous of you. Only 375. Mash your brakes. Your government don't give a shit that 550 dead from murder every year, from bullets, from guns that could have been stopped 3 miles out at sea. So miss me with your suddenly pious morality. Don't grandstand for me. I see you coming from a mile away. Miss me with your bullshit. 375 people dead in a year and a half. Of those 375 people, 300 people were already toppling over. Sick bad. Science was keeping them alive. You know that? Medication, medical intervention. Like Rowley. It is science keeping Rowley alive. Rowley body gave up long time, you know. There's a doctor in West Shore working miracles to keep Rowley alive. You've already passed your sell-by date. You've expired. And now science is keeping you alive. Of the 375 people that died, 300 would have died of natural, well, not natural causes, but of complications due to comorbidities they were suffering from. Lung cancer, heart disease, which are the 2 highest killers of people in Trinidad and Tobago, is heart disease, stroke, lung cancer. If this is a disease that attacks the lungs, and your lungs are already compromised by tumors and cancer, chances are you're not going to make it. If you are morbidly obese and have your diaphragm under pressure to expand your lungs for each breath, if you get a virus that set up shop in your lungs, chances are you're not going to make it because you are already compromised. You see, your body has, besides its normal capacity, it has an additional capacity for dealing with times of trauma and dealing. So you don't need to take a full deep breath every time you breathe to live. But you have the capacity to take a full deep breath. That is extra capacity. If you compromise that by smoking, and you know, people tell you weed smoking don't give people cancer, and those are people who are not talking to doctors. And cigarette smoking, West Indian Tobacco Company Limited sells a product that if used as directed will kill you. That's what cigarettes do. Slowly, surely, cancer sticks, coffin nails, the reality, and yeah, we have asthmatic people. They just do some arithmetic. Of the 375 people that have died to date, 300 is walking dead. That's the truth. The other 75 fall into multiples of different categories that if you were to do proper autopsies, you will see where the COVID-19 virus got to take hold and kill these people. And it could be anything from unknown comorbidities, because there are people who don't know what they have. And they get COVID-19, and the two of them together throw you over the edge. It could also be malpractice in our public health system. Right now, there is a war going on with the Nursing Association. The nurses ready to walk off the work. They're tired of the politics and the political misbehavior of those with little dicks walking around like they have a child foot between their legs. There are plenty of people who, when they get them a title, Abraham Lincoln said, anybody can handle problems. You want to test a man's character, give him power. There are plenty of people who can handle power. And some of the people in charge of our public health is making a right mess of it and causing people to die. I have a document in my possession from the Registered Nurses Association that said a state of emergency has existed in the nation's hospitals since March last year. Do you know that everybody from aged 1% businessmen, government ministers, friends and financiers, even Venezuelans, are getting vaccinations ahead of the frontline workers? The nurses who are keeping freaking people alive have to WhatsApp to get a date. USC is a donkey marathon running our public health. All these 375 people were supposed to be alive tonight. All were supposed to be alive. So when you show me the hearse next to the ambulance, kiss my ass. When you show me people being trotted out, wrapped up in tarpaulin, miss me with your bullshit. All of that is a consequence of things far beyond COVID-19. And if we had a proper team running our public health and our COVID response, somebody other than a pharmacist and a geologist and a tenancy lawyer, somebody beyond this joke squad, four doctors that know, they know, if you test them, you check them, Parashram always looks like he is afraid that he will be found out, that he is not really suited to be CMO. All of these people are swimming in water beyond their depth. And the first thing that Trinidad needs right now is a proper medical professional who understands how to operate in a crisis. And this is a public health crisis that, if managed properly, nobody needs to die. And all the oxygen scares that you hear going on is because we're not using the right drugs that interrupts the replication at the lung infection stage. And that's what worked in all the other countries that are now opening back up. I want to tell you this. Of the total people tested, 165,776, only 20,000 people tested positive. Now that's a crazy statistic. Of the 165,000 people, a little more than 10% test positive. 10%, let's say 12%. Of the total amount of people tested for the whole year and a half. You see that 12%? Philip, that sounds like a lot. 20,000 people, the man say, and he pretending like that ain't nothing. Cool. Of those 20,000 people, 375 died. $375. 1.5% died. Of the 20,000 people, 1.5% of that 20,000 people died. Of the 20,000 positive cases, more than half, 11,400, have already recovered fully, which leaves 8,162 active cases. What's wrong with the man? 8,000 people you're talking about? There's a lot of sick people. Maybe. But of that 8,162 people, only 472 are actually in hospital. 179 are in step-down facilities. 258 are in state quarantine. But of the 8,162, 6,938 are home with a flu. Because they are not sick enough to warrant medical attention. Yes, you're positive. Go home, get some sun, take these drugs, you'll be okay. If you have a problem, call we. We sent back into the community what we call in home isolation 6,938 people to recover. Now, these are people who are positive for COVID-19 and can spread it through their family. Aisha Wells wrote that she saw a man 7 days into his positive diagnosis pumping gas in an NP gas station. I had to cuss the man by WhatsApp and he tell her he feeling fine. Deaths recorded for the year. Peaked at 17 on the 22nd of May and dropped to 10 on the 23rd. So I want you to understand this. Of the 20,000 people that test positive, more than 50% recovered. And of the remaining 40-something%, 472 in hospital, 179 in a step-down facility, 258 in state quarantine. 412 is 6, 672, 872, say 900. 900 people. For all you light your ass on fire, panic, run for the hills. 708 positive on Friday. 900 are in any institution. 375 died. This number, 375 died in a year and a half. Murder for the same year and a half, 650 people. Where is their state of emergency? Where is their lockdown? How come we're not having press conferences once a week? Yesterday, 14 people died, bringing the total for the week to 38. And I'll now hand you over to the Commissioner of Police to explain what happened to those 38 people. But we don't give a shit about these people who make up this number, and there's a reason why. And it's a sad and a disgusting reason why we don't take on the 550 people average who die every year from murder. Because those people are treated like they are disposable people. They're not important. They don't matter. If they did, it is twice the amount that died from COVID. We would have intervened a long time ago. This is not new. We're dealing with this 500 case a year since Manning. We've lost about 10,000 people to murder. We've lost 10,000 people dead in the ground for murder. 375 to COVID. Shut the country down. Destroy the economy. Declare a state of emergency. Now you ain't telling me that it is a right and proper jackass brigade running this country. From the opposition to the government. How come I could get 1,100 people to hear these numbers, and these are all factual numbers, and I could take a screenshot of my scribbles. But all of this information, if you go to AZP News right now, Prior Bihari and AZP News is the most reliable news source in the country for now. It is what Loop wanted to be before Loop became an arm of Digicel jockeying for contract. AZP News is just news. AZP News and Prior Bihari don't own any insurance company that getting state contracts and port insurance so could broadcast what the hell they want. AZP News not shortlisted as one of the 2 radio stations that got government contracts to do government business and big money. AZP News is not owned by any large group of companies. It's not an inherited part of Clico that the government influences. All AZP News is news. So if you want to keep current on anything COVID, the only place to go is AZP News. Yeah? And I tell you that even though I know they have a columnist who should not only be fired, she should be set adrift without a compass, so that wherever she lands, she can't do no damage. We've destroyed our economy because 900 people sick. And we've destroyed the economy, looted the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, broken the trust between the people and the country. The other saying, the next time you write anything on my wall about the future is Kamala and all this kind of bullshit, in fact, let me give you all rest. Give you all rest for a while. Because you're confused. And I don't need to encourage your confusion. Because the state of the country is as a direct result of the failure of all of these people. Now, there are 510,000 voters underpinning the UNC. Those 510,000 people could change this country. I know that if we worked with those 510,000 people, we would run the PNM out of office, mash like stray dog. I know that. How do you work with those 510,000 voters when you have to go through people who crawl your blood? How? There are good people in the UNC who tell me, Philip, there will be bad people everywhere and good people everywhere, and this is true. But I have been in town so long that I've seen the impact of bad people with power. And I know how easy it is to cut a deal just to get power to cut your throat. I was there when the Congress of the People was used like a cheap whore and discarded. I was there. I know for absolute certain my country is broken because there are people inside of political parties who are only interested in getting rich. And the only way they get rich is facilitating theft of the contract mafia. The contract mafia finances these parties and allows them to spend the hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising and direct-to-voter bribe money in exchange for fraudulent, rigged, overinflated contracts. And the other side, the UNC will tell you that unfortunately to get in office, you have to play games with these people. And if you have to play games with the same people that have the PNM doing what they're doing, what will you do different? What would they do different? What would the UNC do different if they are beholden to the same criminal contract mafia? What would they do different? Because these people know what they want. They're not playing checkers, they're playing chess. So they're negotiating with you. Taking you in fancy restaurant in one Woodbrook place, and sit you down, wine and dine you, give you a bag of money in the car when you're leaving. They got 25,000 now, you get the next 25,000 tomorrow. And chain these. When you look at what ends up in the parliament, most of these people have nothing. They start off with nothing. So when these bandits come and hand them $50,000, keys for a Prado, but you just drive that now, man. Keys for a Range Rover. You come from sweaty armpit stains standing on the side of the road waiting for your partner in the B14 to pick you up and drop you where you're going. To a man hand you the keys. Pick you up. He say, you like how it smells? Drop me off here. You keep that. Because that's joke money to what gets stolen during the $300 billion romp that is every 5-year term of government. And all the 510,000 people that upholding the UNC will get. It's the same thing that the 500,000 people who uphold the PNM get. Bragging rights, nothing else. You might get a light in your street, a pavement, somebody else. You see, it's the same number of people getting URP and CPEP contracts. It's the same number of people at that level getting food card and milk money and little special thing. So all you have to do is take it away from the PNM people and give it to your UNC people. That money done there. That not costing them nothing. So all you getting is shit money for selling your soul to uphold something that does nothing for anybody. And I want to say to the people sharing the Bastille Pandey breakdown of what he did when he was in office, I am sure it is true. But I also sat in meetings with people that represented his government when he was Prime Minister and listened to them explain how the airport project was being shared. And that was also his. And he needs to own that. He needs to own that if it wasn't for Ramesh Lawrence Maraj falling out with him, a group of companies was taking Caroni Limited and Caroni Rumstocks that was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Another group of companies was taking the bandwidth that Trinidad is entitled to. That meant that every phone call and every TV station and every cable license would have put money in their pocket. And that's just those things that we know about. And I know that some of you don't want to hear this because you need your leaders to be gods. And you need to understand they are feet of clay. Pandey said, you have to sleep with the devil to get power in this country. And he did nothing to change that. Nothing. We've had small incursions into things that sounded right. Our Heritage and Stabilization Fund, while thankfully it was there, was a joke. Norway's Heritage and Stabilization Fund is $1 trillion US. They impact every stock and share traded in the world. Trinidad had more money than Norway. Where's our money? Where's our money? Norway gets $100 billion a year as interest on their fund. Nobody have to work again. Where's our money? We got a financial intelligence unit. For what purpose? I don't know. An integrity commission. For what purpose? I don't know. These things sound like things, but they do nothing of value to protect the country. They are controlled and manipulated and influenced. We have a country where bribery and corruption influence everything. Sparrow tell you that since 1980. Legal boss want to know what's the situation with the Pitch Lake partner. They thief the Trinity freaking hills. They thief whole mountains. You study in the Pitch Lake. I want to tell you this. Be mindful. And all of these videos are intended to wake you up. I've been doing it for a long time. I've been giving you information for a long time. I've been debunking the bullshit that the government tries to hoodwink you with for a long time. So watching paid talking heads fool my people all the time upsets me to my core. People usually paid with the dirtiest of money. We've had people advance themselves in Trinidad and Tobago criminally. Any of the other people Sanderson made off, any of those people, if they were operating in Trinidad, not only would they not be in jail, they would be in the parliament by now. $510,000 people trapped under the UNC. 495,000 people trapped under the PNM. Both are the bane of each other's existence. Both force each other to believe a narrative that the blacks keeping the Indians down and the Indians keeping the blacks down. And the narrative is foolish and foolhardy. Trinidad and Tobago could have advanced itself beyond Singapore's wildest dreams. We had things that Singapore don't have. Just our location on the global map, just where Trinidad is worth billions of dollars. Just that. You think China here because they want to sniff Rowley's ass? China here because Trinidad has strategic value that cannot be quantified. Trinidad and Tobago is the plum of the entire Caribbean archipelago. We are the only Caribbean tourist destination outside of the hurricane belt. Imagine this country with proper leadership. Imagine this country with a government with a vision for the country that wanted Trinidad to prosper. You see, if Trinidad prospers, everybody prospers. Trinidad is a nation state of 1.4 million people. And for Trinidad to prosper, its people must prosper. Imagine a government voted into office that ended the drug trade, that created jobs through foreign direct investment outside of energy, so that energy and pitch could be gravy and icing. Imagine if we made our $60 billion operating net cost and we hit that as a target for jobs and income so as to slowly reduce income tax so that the average person earning less than $100,000 a year would be paying a minuscule amount of tax. Imagine if we started to tax the things that needed taxing. 500 properties, of course you're getting taxed. Car engine, 3 liter, 4 liter, $3 and $4 million car. Of course not getting taxed. Boats, yachts. You have yachts in this country worth millions of dollars that don't pay no tax at all. There are ways to write off and underwrite anything in Trinidad. You open the papers and you see written on real estate sites in a company name, so no stamp duty. So that means the Treasury is being robbed of a stamp duty contribution because the government, who is heavily in real estate, knows that if you build and sell in company names, all you have to do is sell the shares of the company. So what do? You amend the law. That if the property, if the company that you're selling, if its only asset is property, then you apply the same stamp duty that the property would have attracted to the share being transferred. And it's as simple as that. And I know there are people in real estate development and real estate sales that don't want to hear me saying these things. But Trinidad is a bandit paradise. People have been robbing this country from its inception 58 years ago. It could fix. All of it could fix. It doesn't have to be this way. 510,000 people trapped under the UNC. 495,000 under the PNM. You have all the power to make your own life better. When they said that today was a national day of prayer, and I thought of all the things that I could pray for, the one thing I really wanted to pray for was that blacks and Indians in this country would unite so completely that they could never be driven apart again. That we unite in our brownness. Different shades of brown. I have a nice little caramel latte. I have a partner you can write on his skin with chalk. All of it is just a different shade of brown. Imagine if we united in our brownness. One people under one flag. Imagine what we could accomplish if we wasn't wasting our energies fighting each other over foolishness, defending thieves for the theft that they're stealing that we ain't getting no part of. Going forward from here, the difference that needs to be made We have to make it. 128,000 people signed a petition. The government is racing to do 2 or 3 items on that petition. I want them to know all 5 items are very important, especially that commission of inquiry into the criminal justice system. And I know you're not saying it, and I know you're not reading it, but I want to tell you, I am serving that petition on you. 128,000 people demanding that we fix our criminal justice system. And if you don't do it, then 128,000 people will have to get involved through protests, through stand down, through stay at home. Who knows? Maybe the 128,000 people get organized into a political movement to challenge at election time. Maybe we grow it from there. I watched people who never met a young girl who suffered the most cruel of fates come together in her name and owned her. I wonder if we could get them to see Trinidad and Tobago as much a victim as Andrea Barrett and stand for Trinidad just like that. Imagine if we would go outside there night after night and light a candle for the entirety of Trinidad and Tobago to rescue her and bring her back home. One could only dream. One could only hope. Thank you for joining me tonight on this video. Those of you who are not aware of the organization that I lead, the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago, it is not a political organization. It is a union of citizens that gives strength to the numbers and protects against public and private sector abuse. If you are not yet a member of the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago, please visit citizensuniontt.com or citizensuniontt.org or call 486-2888 or 471-2888. That's 486-CUT, 471-CUT. And there is something else. We have something called a business affiliate program. It costs $540 a year. It's a little more than $1 a day to join and be an affiliate of the Citizens Union. And all of our card-carrying members will be guided and advised to bring their business, tens of thousands of people, to bring their business to you. Going forward, we have to survive. I'd like us to survive quickly. So please, unless you need to go out, stay home. Let's do what we did in 2020. Let's interrupt the transmission of COVID-19. Let's interrupt it. If you have access to evidence of illegal immigrants coming into this country, I want you to use a newspaper, a Trinidad and Tobago newspaper with the date showing when you film your video or take your picture, so that we could prove where it is and when it is, so they can't argue. I want to show that the government is deliberately misleading the people. And for all the talk the Prime Minister talk, he didn't address the fact that our borders are porous that allows the COVID-19 to come into Trinidad in the first place. We're treating COVID in the country, panicking to light we ass on fire, leaving the gates open for more to come. If that is not the textbook definition of asinine stupidity, I don't know what is. Going forward from here, we need to fix our country. We're not going to do that playing small, mindless, racist, tribal games. To my Afro-Trinbagonian brothers and my Indo-Trinbago brothers and sisters, nowhere in the world do Africans and Indians have a problem with each other. Why, oh why, would that be the case in this dot in the sea? Think it through and see if you're not being used so that those who want to get rich will get rich while you fighting among yourselves. There is a picture that I saw of 2 longhorn, I think it was gazelles, locked in battle with each other while a lion coming racing down the road. And the 2 of them fighting for foolishness. about to lose the real fight. If nothing else, is Trinidad and Tobago, Afro and Indo contract mafia coming to eat you. That is what has taken place for 58 years. When Slinger Francisco could tell you the same thing, 1980, 41 years ago. Where are we going? Where are we really going? We're producing a lot of good people, and I'd like to work with all of them. I said, and again, I have to keep giving Inshan the credit for coining the term the Andrea effect. As of that day, Andrea's funeral, 12th of February 2021, I have stopped and dropped all enmity and anybody that willing to work together for a better country. My number is 682-2110. Reach out to me. There are too many people that think that they can lead. I want to show you something. Form a party. Begin the process of forming a party. I want to show you what leadership is. With the PNM and the UNC in existence, we created the Progressive Empowerment Party, and we were able to field, I think, a little over 30 candidates for the elections. We were the third largest party fighting that election with no drug money, no funny money. We were able to put it together. And if you think that you have the capacity to lead, form a party. 2 weeks after the election was over, we were on the ground creating the Citizens Union so we could make sure that even though we weren't in government, we could create an organization that could protect people, especially our followers and our supporters. You could do that, do that. When you see what is required to put things together, that is leadership. Leadership is beyond talk. You could do this 10 times a day. Getting something in place so that people could come on board and be represented and have a real opportunity to change. That's hard work. And if you think you can do it, start to do it. If you do it better than me, I'll come and join you. But if you can't, admit that there are some things that are beyond you and bring the strengths that you do have so that we could find the best space for you. Until tomorrow, Trinidad and Tobago, wear your mask. What is it, 3Ws? Wear your mask, wash your hand, and wait to vote all these political charlatans out of office. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.